Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video called Life Lessons from the Dutch. So apparently we're going to be learning like a lot of new things. So let's check it out and comment, like and subscribe.
I heard the people in the Netherlands, they're a lot more direct when it comes to communicating. Did you find that difficult?
Yeah, well, Hungary and Poland, I think I think you got an idea. We definitely preferred this, that it's here more free-spirited and less judgment.
The food in the Netherlands is quite good. I mean, comparing to English food, for example. I don't know if you've ever tasted. Okay.
I mean, I'm from Sweden, and Sweden is also a pretty tall country. So for me, it's similar.
You cycle everywhere, and also like the moment I moved in here, I also started to do it.
It's very international, and it's easy to be here when you're not from here.
Today,
Oh,
we're in the
that's nice.
Netherlands to learn the lessons that the Dutch have already figured out. Weed and prostitution illegal is a country known for its personal freedom. So let's go and interview some people and see what the Dutch do better than the rest of the world.
I wonder if they're like
What
arrogant
can
about
other
this.
countries learn from the Dutch?
The food in the Netherlands is quite good. I mean, comparing to English food, for example. I don't know if you've ever tasted. Okay.
They're very healthy and fit, like exactly with the cycling. I think it's such a nice habit for them to have it, that you cycle everywhere. And also like the moment I moved in here, I also started to do it.
The Netherlands are very inclusive to other countries and people,
That's
because
nice.
I'm not from here, so I think people are really very kind and like taking care of other people coming from other countries.
Living standard is good. I really like cycling, so I think that really adds to it, that it has like this sort of towny vibe, but it's still a city that has everything.
Like it's very international, and it's easy to be here when you're not from here.
Even with the bad weather, they have a good atmosphere. It's quite a thing that the Netherlands do better than the others.
I think they're pretty organized. Like you can handle everything here that you want. Any like legal or governance matters or like benefits, I think that's really good here.
The quality of life is very nice.
Yeah.
Like it's just very high, so that's nice.
Yeah, when the sun is out, they really enjoy
Yes.
it. Then everyone is sitting out in terraces and just like
When the
really
sun's-
enjoying life. So
Yeah. When there's no sun, it's miserable.
The Netherlands seems like a very free country. Apparently it was the first country to legalize gay marriage, for example. Of course, you see like the coffee shops where weed is legal and prostitution is legal in the red light district, for example. Do you think, how does that compare to your own home countries?
Actually, that's a good question. I think legalizing this kind of stuff is a better way to protect maybe the customers, the person working in that kind of industries. I'm not sure
Yeah.
it would work in any other countries. You need to have a lot of surveillance to make sure it works well. I mean,
True.
in France, we love to strike, we love to complain. We're not
Yes.
as disciplined as the people in the Netherlands.
yeah, well, Hungary and Poland, I think I think you got an idea. We definitely preferred this, that it's here more free-spirited and less judgment.
The mindset like in Poland and I guess like Hungary, it's just very close-minded. So I think here they're way more open and like empowering, and I think that was also one of the first things that I've noticed when I moved here.
And in terms
I'm wondering if it's because like they're more like traditional countries and the Netherlands is sort of like more less traditional, more open and more modern.
of expressing yourself, freedom of speech, do you feel like here you can do that? You can say what you feel? Or is there sort of self-censorship where people are reluctant to say their true opinions?
I believe you can here. I don't feel like I'm Dutch, so I'm not really like speaking up for things that are like happening like in the country.
Yeah,
Of course, if it's like
of
more
course.
like a global issue, then obviously can go out, you can protest. It's I think it's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I didn't
internal
see
things
such
like
a
I don't
difference
know.
between Poland and Netherlands with the freedom of speech. So yeah, I think I'm not Dutch, so it's hard for me to say it.
I heard the people in the Netherlands, they're a lot more direct when it comes to communicating. Did you find that difficult? And do you actually prefer it now? Because sometimes people say when people are direct in their communication, it's so much easier when you don't have to read between the lines.
People are nice,
Yes.
it's maybe a bit more direct.
Some people can mistake that for rudeness. But
Yeah.
like I believe Hungary and I think Poland, we are also pretty direct. So it's not like we don't smile if we don't have to.
But French people are more, they like to hide what they think, but I think we can read on their face.
You have to maybe learn the nuances and understand what a person's really saying. And one of my Dutch friends was telling me how, for example, if you're at their house, they might say, pass the bottle. pass the bottle of wine. And in the UK, you'd say, if you don't mind, if it's not too much trouble, would you pass the bottle of wine? So it's a lot longer to say the same thing.
It's true.
Which I found was quite interesting.
If it's not a
Polish
bother.
people are, like direct, and so I actually really liked it that they're direct and I don't have to read between the lines. So that's like a plus.
Because she's Polish. It's because of like, yes, they're more
Has,
direct
I
in
think,
her
the
culture.
tallest people in all of Europe. When it comes to maybe dating, do you think height is very important for Dutch people?
Yeah, I
Really?
guess. I guess. I mean, I'm from Sweden, and Sweden is also a pretty tall country. So for me, it's the similar. And I think people from Sweden at least care a lot about height.
That's crazy.
So yeah, I would say yes.
And when it comes to a relationship, for example, in France and the way you communicate, is it more easy or is it more difficult?
I think French people are more pudic. I don't know how to say in
Like to hide their feelings. It's a way of protecting themselves.
less demonstrative.
Yes,
Okay, like-
the same as in the UK. I mean, I know English.
The opposite
people
of, like,
to
close to the
pretend
vest.
that everything's going right, keep calm and carry on. I think it depends on your
Mindset,
your mindset, your culture,
It
where
depends
you
on a
were
lot of
born.
things. Yeah.
For someone living in the Netherlands, maybe it's normal to shout at people because they didn't respect a crosswalk when you're biking. I don't know.
What's one thing maybe the Netherlands can do better as well?
I think they could do better within like sustainability and how they are handling waste and all of those questions. Because I'm
My God.
also comparing to Sweden. I think they have a lot to learn.
They're falling behind. Okay. Okay, I think like the craziest thing about this video was like this Swedish woman saying, "Oh, they should definitely improve their sustainability," because I would have thought, isn't the Netherlands like a super green country? But maybe it's just because I'm comparing them with other countries, so it's like, oh, yeah, well, compared to like other countries, it is good. But if you compare them to Sweden, like because she's from Sweden. She's like, oh, they can definitely improve a lot more because they're falling so behind, which is crazy because it's like, oh my God, again, isn't the Netherlands so incredibly green? Like everyone recycles and there's like a bunch of different bins for recycling. Like there's like the glass one and I don't know, like the plastic ones. And there was like six or I don't, I'm saying six, but I have no idea if there's actually six. But they have like a lot of like recycling sort of like systems and they recycle out almost everything. Which is like, well, like I think again in the US, I think it's just like if you're lucky if someone recycles even just like plastic, which is, you know, a lot of places don't even have like their recycling stuff. Like, you know, it's more of like, oh, I want to recycle, so of course you'll do it, but it's not sort of like government like mandated or something, and it's not. There's really not everywhere. Like it's just like it can be quite hard to actually recycle depending on where you are, just because like again the government in place doesn't have the actual sort of like accommodations for you to actually recycle. So it's a little bit harder. So again, compared to them, I'm like, oh my God, it's crazy that this is like, okay, so Sweden is like the greenest country on earth. Like that's crazy to me. But the others, I think it was really funny. Like I think especially like I think it was like the Hungarian and the Polish woman. Like I think they were probably the closest because there were like a lot of things are not so much like a culture shock because I think apparently like those cultures are. Again, I don't really know much about them, but I think it's maybe a little bit more similar to the Dutch culture. Just because they were like, oh, it doesn't really bother me like a lot of things and it wasn't like such a big thing of like, oh my God, like people are not smiling when I like say hello or like afternoon, or maybe people don't even say afternoon when you like walk into a place. But again, I don't really know. And I know it's not about like being rude, it's just like their way of life. But apparently for them, it's just sort of like the normal because they're like, our cultures are sort of like more closed and they're like a bit more similar in that sense, in that regard of being like less, if you're not smiling, no one's gonna be like, hey, like put up a smile in that face. It's like, no one's actually like doing that to us. Because again, it's like very like, I don't know, closed cultures but I don't know like closed as in like closed to the world. No, I think it's just closed like in general as in like, you know, maybe not very social, maybe, I don't know, like, I think, but I don't really know, like, I'm sort of like, I don't know, I'm like throwing things and see what sticks, because I don't really know enough about those cultures to actually, like, say, like, oh, yeah, that's the case, but I think that was the impression that I got, And of course, like, that doesn't mean that people are not friendly, but it's just a way of being like, again, maybe like a little more, like they say, a little more direct, and they really are not going to sugarcoat it. And again, if you're not smiling, they're like, who cares if you're not smiling? You can be with like your serious face, and no one's gonna be like, oh, but you know, what? How come, like, oh, you're so rude? Or even like, I think like, you know, people that work like in customer service, for instance, like, oh, you know, they're not gonna be like, oh my god, like this person was so like rude to me because they didn't smile when I entered. Like, I think it's very like, and I think that really does relate with the American mentality of, you know, everyone like that's offering you like a service, like is working at a store or retail or whatever, or even like at a fast food place, or they're gonna be like very, oh, hello, and they're gonna be like openly affectionate and warm and happy. But of course, like, well, sometimes it comes naturally because again, it's part of the culture. But like, they're like, if you don't feel it, like, you don't have to smile, like, you don't have to fake it, which I think is like, yes, so they're coming from like similar places culturally, so I don't think it's that those two were like so much of a like, oh wow, what an intense experience this was. I think the French ones were a little bit more like, they understood it, but I think they were a little bit more like, you know, I think like things are a little bit like different over there, which I think, and I find it quite funny. They were like, oh, you know, again, like people they're a little more like, especially like in relationships, which of course I know it's like, I think it's hard to generalize something like this of how people are in relationships, because obviously you can't generalize a whole country or a whole culture, because it's gonna depend on everyone's personality and upbringing or whatever. But she's like, oh yeah, they're very like, they play like close to the vest, like they don't really carry their feelings like, oh yes, you know, I'm gonna like let you know. No, they're really like a little more close, which I'm like, oh, that's it's interesting, especially compared to like, especially France, which I think are like he said, like, we're very like, oh, if we don't like something, we're gonna let you know. And they're like protesting about everything and striking. And it's funny that he was like, yes, I know that we are like that. It's like, well, yeah, but it's also like, again, it's good. I don't think like the Dutch are like that. Maybe they're a little bit shyer, maybe. I don't know if it's shy, it's actually the word, but maybe they're a little, I don't know, like less intense about like social things. Not that they don't protest over there. Actually, I have no idea. Do they protest in the Netherlands? I have no idea. Would love to know. But I think, you know, especially coming from a place like France, which, you know, there's like strikes happening like every, like, I don't know, every month, like, you know how it's like every day, like ending with a Y. So, you know, it's kind of like, it's funny that he was actually like referring to this. Like, it's like, I know that we can be a bit like, oh my God, like we are complaining. We love to complain about stuff. But yeah, I think also like they're just like very different cultures, and it's kind of funny actually, because it's like, well, Dutch and the Netherlands and France are like so close together that it's really funny that they're so different in that regard of like, oh, you guys are like very close geographically, but at the same time, there's like so many different things culturally about you guys that is like, you know, it's funny how things work. And again, I think the Netherlands, I think, seems to be closer culturally to Hungary and Poland. So it's like, you know, funny how the stuff like that works. But yes, in general, I do really think like there's like a lot of things that we can learn. Like they say, it's a very modern country. Probably like, yes, it's very like not fast, maybe like forward thinking. I think we can like, yes, in the fact that they've legalized like a bunch of stuff, and that other countries are still like, they're either like, oh, it's legal in some places, or it's just like plain, it's illegal everywhere. So it is kind of like, yes, they're very like up ahead of like, oh, they're living in the future. It can make you feel like that because, oh wow, they're very progressive. But I think it's just because, again, it's a cultural thing, and it doesn't necessarily mean, of course, they're going to be like, probably more people. Some people are not going to be that progressive over there, just as you can find like the girl said, like, oh, it's more progressive over here. But like they said, oh, in our countries, like, no, they're not like that at all, because again, they're more traditional. But it's like, well, you guys are the perfect example of, you can't generalize, because you're saying, oh, that culture, like in our countries of origin, like, oh, that would never happen because it's very traditional. But it's like, well, you guys are from there, and you guys are clearly like not like that. So, you know, I think it's interesting, and again, it can be hard to sort of like generalize and put into words like, oh yes, this, you know, this nationality is like this, or this whole country is like that, because it's hard. Like, not everyone can be like in one particular mold, and not everyone fits into one particular mold. But that was it for today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.